What if I told you that I have a solution for you to stop anxiety in its tracks? If you're experiencing challenges with anxiety, then I have a couple of techniques that you can use to get instant relief from anxiety. Hey, it's Mike, and in this video I want to talk about anxiety, how it emerges, and some simple steps that you can take to keep anxiety from taking over your mind so you can get some relief and finally start living your life. So what is anxiety and how does it emerge? Well, anxiety usually starts off as a thought. And usually it's a negative thought based on certain circumstances that you've experienced before and some experiences that you're anticipating potentially happening again. And when you have a certain thought, you're going to automatically compare that thought to all the other experiences that you've ever had before, and you're going to start looking for a pattern. And all this happens underneath the surface. You're not really aware that it's happening because it happens so fast and it happens so in such a way that's deeply embedded into you that you're not really aware that it's happening. So there's a concept called the negativity bias. And what that is that we are more wired to look for negative things in experiences and events than we are to look for positive things. It's because we are wired to look for survival and security. We want to stay alive. So we're more likely to react to threats than we are to react to opportunities. And because of the way that we're wired, any circumstance or experience that we find ourselves in, for the most part, we're more likely to look for the things that could potentially harm us. And it's not your fault that your mind naturally goes this way. It's just the way that you're wired. It's the way that we're all wired. We're all wired to look for the threats. But unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, all the threats that we're wired to respond to, the ones that we're wired to react to, don't really occur in our modern society. We're not really on the lookout for existential threats like lions and tigers trying to eat us. We're not under the existential threat of potential exile from our tribe. But those conditions, those feelings are still deeply embedded within us. So anytime you have a thought that might be a negative thought, your brain is going to latch onto that thought and just start looping it. So these thoughts usually start small and they build up to something even bigger. And what happens, that where the anxiety comes in, is that when you think these thoughts and you perceive them as a threat, whether it's a real threat or not, that's when your physiology kicks in and you get a release of cortisol and adrenaline, both of which are, well, the cortisol is a stress hormone and adrenaline is a hormone that pulls all your energy from your vital organs and puts them to use for your ability to fight or flee, depending on the situation. And what happens is it creates an influx of energy. And this energy just circulates through your body, but since you really don't have anything to fight and you don't really have anything to flee from, then this negative energy just circulates throughout your body with nowhere to go, with no outlet to relieve itself through. And when you have this adrenaline pumping through your body, it's going to result in a number of physiological symptoms. Some common ones are, fast heart rate, nausea, sweating. The most common of them, though, is a short, shallow breathing. In fact, anxiety in most situations results in a short and shallow breathing pattern. And as you breathe short and shallow, this is going to result in an accumulation of carbon dioxide, and you're just going to feel like you're short of breath, which is going to cause an even bigger release of adrenaline and cortisol. And this starts a loop that is really difficult to get out of. There's a couple things you can do, the most common of which is most people will just kind of try to go find their safety and security, their comfort zone. The problem is that when you face a perceived threat, whether it is real or imagined, and you try to find some comfort, you're essentially validating and acknowledging that which you are facing is an actual threat. And if it's an imagined threat, then you're going to think it's even more real than it actually is. So the key to get out of this is essentially just to break the loop. And in order to break this loop, you have to essentially identify what the threat is. You have to identify what is causing this physiological response. And it's usually in the form of a thought. If it's not literally a lion that's running down the savannah trying to eat you, or it's not, somebody trying to kick you out of your house and kick you to the curb or whatever, if it's something that you really have a hard time putting your finger on and defining what that threat is, then slow down. Try to identify what the threat is and give that threat a name. And then when you've done that, try to scan your body and identify the physical sensations that you're experiencing. Are you feeling a shortness of breath? Are you feeling a fast heart rate? Are you feeling sweatiness? Are you nauseated? What are the physical symptoms that come along with that threat or that perceived threat? And you'll probably find that if you're experiencing anxiety, you probably are, you need to notice your breathing. You need to pay attention to how you're breathing. And it's probably short and shallow breathing. So that leads me to the solution on how to relieve anxiety instantly. And it all comes down to your breathing. The first thing we want to do is get rid of that negative excess energy that's looping through your body. And the first way you do that is through your breathing. Now let me rewind a little bit and explain how your breathing controls your autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is partially responsible for the fight or flight response in your body. Now when you breathe in, when you inhale, you're going to speed up your heart rate a little bit. And when you exhale, your heart rate is going to slow down a little bit. And the way that you can control your heart rate is by controlling the ratio of the duration of inhale to the duration of the exhale. So the key to doing this is to take a relatively quick inhale breath, and then slowly exhale. Now you might have a little bit of an increase in heart rate on the inhale, but as you exhale a little bit longer duration, that heart rate's going to slow down. So to demonstrate, what you're going to do is take a relatively fast inhale followed by a much longer exhale. So let me demonstrate. Here's the inhale. So as you do this, you should feel yourself begin to relax. And if you do this up to about 10 times, you'll feel that anxiety really just you just exhale that anxiety out, right? And so what I suggest, what I recommend, and what I do myself is I will do this breathing pattern up to 10 times. So I'll inhale relatively quickly and then I'll exhale much more slowly. I'll do that 10 times. And then I follow it up with some box breathing. Now, if you don't know what box breathing is, it's inhaling, holding, exhaling, and holding before repeating the cycle again. But you do each interval at the same duration. So for example, you'll inhale for 4 count, you'll hold that breath for 4 count, you'll exhale for a 4 count, and then you'll hold that exhale for a 4 count. And so this box breathing will allow you to essentially reset your breathing patterns, and it will help ground you in your physiology so that you can recenter yourself, so that you're not living so high inside your head. You just bring all that energy back down into your body instead of letting it circulate through your mind. But as I'm doing this box breathing, I will repeat a mantra in my head. And for me, the mantra that I use most often is always calm, always calm. I won't vocalize it. I'll just let it loop inside my head so that it's not allowing that thought that is perceived as a threat to come back in. So I'm blocking it out by using that mantra, always calm, as I'm doing the box breathing and just breathing it out. And I'll do that for about 10 times. And once I'm done with that breathing technique, it shouldn't take more than a minute to get back grounded and to relieve that anxiety that's been circulating through your body. And here's the thing, the more you do this and the more you practice this, the more you'll become aware of when these thoughts start to emerge. And you can learn to just break that pattern before these thoughts even fully materialize in your head. So that's the beauty of this. But in order to get started, going through these breathing practices will be the most invaluable tool that you have if you want to instantly relieve yourself from anxiety. Alright, so I'm going to leave you with that. If this video has been helpful for you, help me out by clicking that like button. And I'd love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments section how anxiety typically manifests itself for you. And if you have any tips on how you relieve anxiety, please also let me know that in the comments. And if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe because that will be awesome. And I will look forward to bringing you more videos just like this in the future. Thanks for watching.